Hey tubers! Welcome back for another adventure, and looky what I found. Looks like I got me a 1985 Honda TRX250 that is like minty fresh from a cosmetic point of view. Look how pretty that is, huh? Front tires are almost new, different rims. Back tires are buffed, but look how pretty this thing is. Look at the frame on that. It is one nice machine. I mean, look at this rig. It is absolutely beautiful. Look at the front end. Other than a little dent there. How pretty that is. It's got the little glove box. He stole the headlight. He needed that for his. It's got the tanks around. Let's see if we got to check the tanks in. Look at that, tank even looks good. Right, you guys see shiny metal. Doesn't even smell horrible. Came with the key. Still says Honda on it. All the controls are here. Throttle's stuck. But it's even got the oil temperature. I mean, all that's there. Check the seat out. I think that and this are the only two imperfections that, I mean, I'm like working to find imperfections. The side, the plastics, right? No cracky. It's missing the trunk, right? It's got the trailer hitch on it. Needs back tires, obviously. It is missing the lid. Came with a toolkit. When was the last time you saw one of these come through with a toolkit? Right? And once again, no cracks. Oh, there's a crack. Found a crack. There you go. But it is rock solid, seized. Exhaust doesn't even look like it's got 1,000,000 miles on it. Right, a couple of scratches here. Yeah, but with a tiny little crack. But she's in beautiful condition. So here's what the oil looks like. Right. Oil actually looks pretty good. And it's full. Now, the interesting thing with this is obviously motor seized, but it didn't roll either. He had to lift the tail end up with a Kubota loader to kind of work it up the ramps and get it into the back of the truck. So the engine being locked up really doesn't bother me. I might cry a little bit is if the rear end I just gave away is actually needed for this thing. That'll mean I'll have to take something else apart. I mean, it looks like the brakes are more than loose enough to allow it to roll. I didn't see water in the crankcase. I'm hoping this poor thing didn't get drowned somehow. You know, put in water, the rear end's full of water and it's seized up. Now, anybody familiar with the 1985 ATC 250 ES motor, 250 SX motor, or this motor? First of all, they're all the same, and they all have a bit of a problem, especially if they are early 1985 motors. What they're known for, oh, and the starter's loose. What they're known for is, as time passes, the starter, there's a lot of torque, so the shaft starts to get loose and it starts to move a little bit. Then it strips out the gears in here, and the gears in here, the teeth fall off and they get stuck. Yeah, it looks like they had that off too. They get stuck between the flywheel and the stator. It leads to it being quite seized like it does, because as you're trying to turn it over, they really bind themselves between the flywheel and the stator. Then you're stuck. Then until you tear the whole thing apart, you're kind of you're kind of smoked. Given that the starter is out of this thing, I think they did do some troubleshooting. I paid $500 for this thing, and I gotta tell you, my assumption is the engine's trashed. I'm not assuming the rear end's trashed, but I'm assuming the engine's trashed. So, and I do have the parts to put it together, both the engine and transmission. I'd rather not put the engine and rear end, though I'd really rather not have to put the rear end too. I'd rather hang on and hoard my parts. If you're familiar with the rears on these things, if they get water in them and you run them, they can have a tendency to go bad. So, what's my plan for this rig? I'm almost positive I have a headlight floating around for it. And I'm probably going to lean toward putting an OEM headlight on there and fixing that up properly. Trunk lid. I hope I have one of those floating around. There's a good possibility of not. I might have like a half a dozen sets of plastic with no trunk lid. And if I were a betting man, I'd bet that trunk lid is money. I mean, one could fabricate out of plastic or metal and create something that looks okay, but I'd really like to get the right trunk lid on it. I mean, it even has a little finger for the rubber band. So I would like to do that correctly. Before I pull that engine off entirely and write it as dead, I am going to see what's going on with the flywheel. I'm a little surprised, and I'm going to use the word surprised, that the shift, he said it was rolling fine. He said there was no issue. So maybe from sitting, the brake just stuck to the drum in the back, and I'm going to get away with the rear end without any trouble. I don't think this was a part, right? The bolts don't look scabbed up. Right? They really look pretty good. Get you real close. Right? Normally you could see a little feathering or something if it's been taken apart. And unless they put the same exact gasket back on here, I just don't think this was a part. Those bolts look like they've been out. So maybe he partially took it apart. He seemed, when I spoke to the guy, he seemed pretty confident that he could handle a carburetor, because he had a Bayou that needed a carburetor job, and he seemed pretty confident that he was going to fix that before he sold it. But he didn't seem too confident about getting deep in the motor. Even on the clutch adjustment side, that really doesn't look boogered around with. So, I don't know, maybe they got the clutch too tight such that you can't increment it to take it out of gear. Well, we'll figure this out. Anyway, as a betting man, what am I going to predict? I'm going to predict the brake got wet and that seized up. So I'm predicting that's going to come loose. Though once again, we pushed it around and dragged it a bit, and it didn't. But I'm thinking it's going to come loose, right? Fingers crossed. I'm thinking that I might get away with a stator and flywheel over here. Worst comes to worst, I'm going to have to put starter gears into it. And I think I have all those parts on an engine that we worked on a while ago. I think we got it started, but it smoked like a banshee. So I think I'm going to get away with that. I'm going to assume this carburetor, the 1985, I don't like that constant velocity carburetor, and the 1985 engine is renowned for being the greatest engine in the world. So I think it's getting a PZ30 hack for the carburetor. With the trunk and the headlight and that all fixed up, this is going to be a sweet unit. This is a top pocket find. $500. I don't think I could have gone wrong. I think it's just beautiful. I mean, everything's still, you know, nice and tight. This is a beauty. Got light bulbs loose here. Anyway, key. I can't complain. I think this is going to be a beauty. I'm looking forward to bringing it back. You know, am I going to bring it back to OEM? You know, get every part, like go get the wheel somewhere and everything else. Probably not. But I'm going to make it nice. I'm going to make it worth owning. These are a lumber wagon, so it could always be debated if they're worth owning. But this one I wanna make nice. So I'm seat doesn't even need to be recovered. Look at that. That's just beautiful. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is a good time of year to buy these things. A lot of people don't want to store them for winter. So there's kind of a lot of stuff available at the end of the year. People are chasing the little bits of money they need for Christmas, or you know, their first heating bill showed up or whatever, so they're kind of looking to lose the toys. And if there's a lot available, remember, that kind of makes more stuff available, because if you can upgrade cheap, then you get rid of your old stuff from out back. So it's not a bad time to start looking around. Once again, $500, Facebook, and it's mine. I want to thank you all for dropping by to watch and comment and subscribe. Please remember, feet down, heads up, and get out there and enjoy every single day. You don't know how many you get, so get out there and have some fun.